What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Another episode, TRIFLIX Cast. I'm Tristan Watkins, and this is the show where we interview creative, innovative, entrepreneurial people trying to make a difference in the world, make a difference in their community, better themselves, all that type of thing. And we have a guy exemplifying several of those aspects, Mr. Ryan Furr. Hey, Ryan. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So now it may be weird because you might not know Ryan, but he is a guy that is in the same market as we are. He's doing the photo work, the video work, the design, the graphics, all that type of thing. But it's community over competition here. And that's something we like to uphold. And with that being said, we bring him in here today to discuss what his journey is. We want to learn his story, why he is doing the things he's doing. And with that, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit, bud?
Sure. My name's Ryan Furr. Own a company called Ryan Furr Creative. It was a very creative name that we came up with for that.
I actually like that. Everybody has a media studio. Creative studios sound way better.
Right. Yeah. So I've been working in various creative things for a long time and started this company a couple of years ago now. And been in Columbus for about... now I got to remember 15 years, 16 years. I don't remember now. Anyway. So yeah, I moved over here cause my wife, graduated the year before I did from IU and moved over here. And, this is where we've been ever since.
Yeah. But, as far as your journey though, you didn't start out in the video field, did you? Or the photo, the creative arts?
No, I did not.
No. Okay.
So after coming out of IU, I mean, I really just worked some random jobs as a lot of people probably tried to or end up doing out of college. So stuff even like working at Menards and things like that. And then I ended up getting hired on at a local printer to do their graphic design work, which I had, I'd been doing on and off for a long time. I kind of started doing it because I was in a band and we needed t-shirts and a website and that kind of stuff. So I started doing some design work for that, and then was kind of doing it freelance and started doing it for the printing place here in town.
Yeah.
And then actually from there ended up going into a staff position at Terrace Lake Church here in town, leading worship, and did that for a little over 8 years or so.
Yeah. So it sounds like as far as the creative role, that was something you adopted and learned to support your musical career, right?
Yeah.
And then you started picking up the web design, started picking up the shirt design. So a lot of design aspects going into that. Mm-hmm. And then that moves you into the role at Terrace Lake, and you found a way to make music a paid gig. Living the dream.
Yeah, that's not easy to do most times.
No, it's definitely not. And from there, where did you end up going?
So I did like the music there at the church, but I also did the graphic design work for that as well, and got into the website and an app for the church. And then while I was there, also got into starting to do video for the church specifically. And kind of moved more into what a lot of churches call a creative arts role in doing a lot of that stuff, in addition to doing music stuff too. So,
so throughout this period of time, are you still trying to keep a band together, or are you going independent, or did you put that on hold to just maintain the job?
Yeah. So it wasn't long, after I started at the church that the band kind of fizzled out. I mean, we'd been doing it for a long time, done some really cool stuff and played festivals and, the Indianapolis Stop of Warp Tour and had some endorsements and cool stuff that a lot of bands don't get to do. But yeah, it just kind of fizzled out. Some of the guys moved away. My brother was a part of the band and he left to do other things. And so it was kind of like, I think it's time to move on to something else. But, and it helped that I was doing music at the church. So kind of filled that. Yeah. Fulfilled that passion that I still had for playing music and that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. All right. And then, are you still doing worship there? You said for 8 years. Is this still part of that 8 years?
No. So, I mean, I'm not on staff there anymore. I've been out of that staff position for a couple years now, but still really involved there and doing some music stuff there, but also leading for a handful of other churches. I've been able to fill in for people if they've had someone leave a position or, their teams just need a break and that kind of stuff, or want variety of having multiple leaders because some churches don't have that. So yeah, it's cool. It's given me an opportunity to be a part of multiple churches.
Get to meet different congregations and communities.
Yeah, it's really cool. And all the places have a little different style, and different musicians to play with and that kind of thing. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, you go up there and you're like, where's the drums? Like, oh, we don't do drums here.
Yes. That doesn't, luckily, if they don't have drums, they're probably not inviting me.
Right on, man. Yeah, you definitely do have a style with your music. Would you like to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, so the first band that I had was like a hardcore metal band, which obviously is not what I'm doing in the churches. But I don't know. I mean, it's probably a pretty typical, more modern worship style kind of thing, but I do enjoy a little bit more on the like rock and roll side. There's some guys out now that are doing more like almost like southern rock that's kind of creeping into the church a little bit more, which is cool. But I really like that stuff too, because a lot of times it tends to be a little more just the lyrical content seems to be a little more real, a little more authentic sometimes than just kind of a generic
Crowder and Hillsong,
right? And no, okay, I'm wearing a Crowder hat, but I know. I wouldn't necessarily lump him in there, but most of the stuff of his that gets played in church is that way. But
I mean, it's just that mainstream, and it's whatever gets adopted,
right?
And it's, I don't think, I believe that when the person was writing the song, it meant something, but whenever you've heard that song 30-40 times, it starts to take away a little bit of that meaning, or at least you start to overlook it, I guess. It becomes more of a pattern or part of the tradition.
And there's a balance there, because not everyone's musical, and you need songs that are easy for people to sing and learn and that kind of stuff.
And plus, I mean, if you have a new song every week and people still want to learn it so they can sing along, they aren't reading the script the whole time. Like they want to be a part of that moment. And that's pretty cool. So from there, you have that 8-year stint at Terrace Lake. You're still a part of that community. And do you go independent then, or what was your next move?
I mean, that was pretty much it. My I think my only option was really, well, I've got these creative skills that I've been using for so many years in one way or another. It kind of went from doing it for my band to helping other bands out with it and that kind of stuff, into like, hey, some people might pay me to do this for them. Then to, when I first moved to Columbus, I kind of tried to do the freelance thing, and just, something just didn't click. It was so hard to find work and that kind of thing. And I think part of that is time, just the kind of the landscape has changed, that it's a lot more open to freelancers now than an agency and that kind of thing. But also just because now that I've been here long enough, I know people. When I was first here, I had no connection really with anybody, so it was so difficult to even people don't really appreciate like blind sales anymore. They want to know the people they're working with, and I think that's a good thing. But now I feel like I have that, so it's been it'll be 2 years in May doing this independently, and it's still all just referrals and word of mouth. And thankfully we've done good work for people, and they've enjoyed it, and they've told other people about it, and so it's been really good.
What's been the your favorite part out of that process and that journey? Or I guess what's been your favorite projects that you've worked on recently?
Right. I mean, like so I've actually moved more into the video side and less on the design side. and I love that it's kind of a constant learning process. Like
Oh yeah.
you've never figured it all out and everything, and so that's really cool. But I'm trying to think of favorite projects. I mean, I love just the work in general because there are so many different things, and every project is kind of a new, like, okay, figure out how we can do this and how we can make it the best that it can be. I actually love just one I did recently, kind of combined two things that I love so much. We did like a drum cover video.
Yep, saw that
for
one.
For a guy named Zach Dean, who is a ridiculous drummer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was cool. I've known him, for a long time, and so he asked us to do that, and that was super fun because it's not every video shoot you end up doing a little more creative lighting and fog and that kind of stuff. And
usually the more money you get paid, the less creative you're allowed to
that,
be.
that is so true.
So the corporate people, man, they got money, and it's nice to be able to get paid for what you do, but it's really refreshing whenever you get to have those independent projects where you just get to be creative and do whatever you want with it, try new things and practice all these like little techniques you've been learning but haven't had the right project to use it on.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Was there any projects recently that you because you said it's always good learning new things. Was there anything recently that you've learned and applied to a project?
Oh gosh, there's probably a lot. I just have to narrow it down. I mean, anymore, it's like I feel like I learn things daily, even just from YouTube. And there's so many guys that I follow on there that just, have so much expertise and can offer little things that make a big difference. I mean, really, I think the biggest thing for me lately has just been just learning and experimenting more with lighting. And realizing that, you can do video with your iPhone and make it look good if you know what you're doing with lighting. And because there's so much starting out that you're like, well, I need that camera, but it's, $3,000 and I need that. And you end up thinking, I got to spend $20,000 before I can make a good video, and so I think that has been super cool, and realizing it's fine. Like whatever gear you have, learn how to use it the best you can and practice with it as much as you can. And it's really the camera, the camera can only see what you give it.
Right.
So the lighting just became so much a bigger part of it than what I knew in the beginning, Yeah,
so. They always say like you with a $50,000 camera can't compete with any of the great directors like the Taika Waititi or was it Michael Bay's, the James Camerons with a cell phone.
Right.
Because just the vast amount of knowledge, the experience they have, their comprehension of lighting and framing, positioning, all that stuff, all just the plot lines, like everything that goes into making a cinema happen, it isn't based on money. I mean, money makes it a little bit easier, I'm sure, but
right.
Like you have to have that base knowledge, those fundamentals. It's like playing a sport. If you don't have the fundamentals, it doesn't matter how tricky or fancy you are. It's you won't be able to compete at the same level.
Yeah.
At least not in most cases that I can think of.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So as far as your goals moving forward, what's like your 1 year, because you're independent now, you're started your company, you're starting to do a little bit more on the video work. What are your like 1 and 5 year goals moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, of course, just continuing to grow the company, which has already just been more than I've ever expected. So I think even within 1 year, I'm already looking at hiring someone full-time to help with assist on filming and doing editing and that kind of stuff. Because we've got enough clients at this point, and most of those are returning clients. That's so awesome. It's when that happens, every time you get a new client, it just kind of continues to build up. So it's starting to get to the point where it's hard for myself to keep up with all of it. So so that 1 year, definitely that, just getting some help there and continuing to grow the client base. Within 5 years, I mean, I'd like to, just again with the constant learning, I'd really like to do some stuff that I haven't done before, more like a short film project.
Yeah.
I've got also friends that are missionaries in Colombia that we've talked about doing kind of a documentary project and that kind of stuff. So it's a little bit intimidating just because of the scope of a project that big, especially outside of the country.
Yeah.
But really exciting just to think about doing some new stuff like that.
Yeah. It's definitely something new.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd love to hire multiple people if it comes to that. And I mean, a big part of why I want to do that is just because it's been like super freeing to work for myself and kind of be just in control of what I'm doing and have creative freedom and that kind of thing. And my goal in hiring people is, you know, even though they're working for me, to give them that feeling of working for themselves. And, you know, I knew that I was never really cut out for the 9-to-5 office job and that kind of thing, that it just wasn't fulfilling for me. And probably just the creative personality, that it's hard to do the same thing day in and day out at the same time. And it, you know, it kind of takes all the fun out of everything. So, so hopefully, being able to kind of offer that to somebody else too. And that'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah. With this creative outlet, you know, whether that be the design work, the video work, photography, and all that, what has been your biggest inspiration for you getting started in that field? Or was it just, hey, this could be fun, and then you just go out and try it?
I mean, when I was doing video for the church, I knew, like, I could tell that, man, this is something I would really love to do. Because I don't know, there's just, I think the big difference for me coming from the design stuff was just that I don't just want to sit in front of a computer all day long. And that's what most of that was, but being able to really be hands-on with the camera, and there's a lot more interaction with people, obviously, and that kind of thing. Just, I don't know, it feels a lot more like hands-on creative to me. Than when I was just kind of sitting in front of a computer, which I still enjoy here and there. But yeah, the video definitely felt more like a creative outlet. And the more I've learned and tried to grow in it, it's just, man, I just love it.
Yeah. That's a good thing. You know? You wanna find something that you can do with your life that you love.
Right.
And speaking of things that I love, and we might even both love, because you're a fan of music. I'm a fan of music, and there's a company based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and they produce music. It's a record label company called Zion Hill Records, or Hill Zion Records, sorry. And they it's a Christian label. They're producing some rap, some R&B, just some upbeat music, and the beauty of it is you can listen to it with your family, you know? Yeah, you don't have to
That doesn't happen very often with that kind of music.
It doesn't. And it's nice knowing you, because you are a man of a family, right? You got some youngins.
Yep.
Some little kids.
We've got 4 little boys.
4 little boys. And you want them to listen to music that pleases God. You want them to feel that joy, and you want to have that positive emotion whenever they listen to music without all the bad words. And this is a group that likes to promote that type of thing. They like music like that. They like supporting creative people, and because of those reasons, they support the podcast, and that's why they're our sponsor of the day.
Nice.
Yeah, Hill Zion Records. So if you guys are interested, we'll have a link for them. If you're watching the video, the link's right here. Definitely go check them out. Especially X Truth on Spotify. Taurus Hearns is his real name. Great guy. Love working with him. We've done some lyric videos and that type of thing. And I look forward to working with him some more. He'll be coming in town. We'll do some photo shoots here soon. And you'll be able to see all those photos on the website as well as social media. But let's bring this back into you now. Let's talk about that evolution. We talked a little bit about your evolution of music.
Yeah.
Are you still really heavy in the rock scene as far as your personal preference? Is that still what you cater towards?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It's back. It's kind of everything in between too. You know, there's, I do listen to some super crazy heavy stuff that people probably wouldn't imagine that I listen to.
Yeah.
But then obviously worship music too. But then, I mean, a little bit of everything. I love stuff like a lot of acoustic kind of stuff. Like I used to listen to the Civil Wars a lot, and like
Really?
people like Johnny Swim and kind of acoustic, more singer-songwriter, folky kind of stuff. And even almost country, but you know, stuff like Chris Stapleton and things like that I really love. I'm not big on the newer, more modern country kind of stuff, but and even the hip hop kind of stuff that, you know, I can really get into anything that I feel like is well done, and you know, I'll enjoy listening to a lot of different things.
Yeah, it's I think whenever you start to understand a subject or become an expert in it, there's like, we were talking about this on the last one with Rich Harris. He also is in music, and he's also culinary. So whenever you experience good things, you can appreciate it, even if it's not necessarily your style.
Yeah.
And that goes for music or food, but it also goes for cinema. It's like, well, I would have done that slightly different, but overall, like, it was really well done, and I can appreciate it, right? So like you said, country's, you know, not my favorite either, but there's quite a few country songs that I really enjoy listening to because it was put together well. You know, there's a lot of music videos that I'm more drawn by the music video than the music itself. And you start to recognize well done producing. I don't know, in your line for video work, have you started to venture into the music? I know you mentioned the drummer, but is there a lot of music and video overlap for you?
There's not a ton. I think there's been talk of a lot of projects with music videos and that kind of thing. And I mean, certainly there's like the music part that goes along with the video, which I love, even just trying to select the right music and the sound design kind of stuff that can go along with video. I love that stuff, and think that like my music experience has helped a ton with that, because you know, I feel like I've seen some people, when you're not musical, it's hard to just kind of figure that out and feel your way through it. So so yeah, I still love doing that part of it.
Yeah. So what do you think, like, the reason for not doing more musical projects would be? Is it regionally we just don't have that type of the supply and demand, you know, maybe the need for it isn't really here? Is it, you know, the starving artist problem? It's like they're capable of great things, but they don't have the money to achieve it, you know? So like, or is it, you know, that's just not a demographic you really want to hit right now? You're focusing more on like the wedding videos and you know, events and corporate work. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, a big part of it, I think, is just the music scene, that it's not just not incredibly like thriving here in our area, you know? So a lot of what people end up doing to be successful with music is playing covers in the bars and stuff like that, because that's what they can actually get paid for. Right. So I think that's part of it, you know. That's always hard for musicians to have a budget for anything. Yeah. But no, it's something I would love to do, just because it does mix together two things that I love. And really, we've even, like, we don't do very many wedding videos. I think we did maybe like 5 last year. But, and that's something that's fine, but really we do a lot more of the smaller promo kind of videos and short ads for YouTube and that kind of stuff. We're just finishing up like a educational video course for a client, and so there's, you know, there's a lot of different stuff. And then of course I just kind of have fun doing some of my own videos for YouTube too.
Some of the vlogs.
Which is funny, but it's
I was watching one today. It was called Furry Potter.
Oh yeah.
If you won't copyright strike me, I'll throw it up here real quick.
Sure.
Yeah. got these cute little kids. I see at least 2 of the boys in the video, and they're
Yep.
swinging them wands, and Papa Furr's over here throwing in some cool VFX for them. I'm really excited. I got a little brother. He's 4 right now, and I really want to make those, crazy little fun VFX videos. I think they're it's really neat whenever you get to like see a kid's imagination and try to, like, as an adult, like, well, that's not possible, but like as an adult, now that you have VFX, you're like, it's not, but we can try our best to make it.
Yes,
right?
we can make it look possible.
Yeah, and like I think like a lot of times adults, as you're growing up, you start to that creative side of what isn't possible starts, like, dissolve a little bit, because you're in the real world. You got bills, you got responsibilities, and you don't have time to be like, what if my legs were fish? You wouldn't think of that. No one's gonna think of that, but a 4-year-old will.
Yes, and if you can make them see it, then they'll be over the moon.
Yeah, I mean, just think about like the Instagram, the Snapchat filters now. It's a dog face. Somebody had to think of that.
Yep.
Yeah, and somebody's getting paid to be really creative like that, and it's cool to think that that fun little projects that you're doing with your kids could inspire them to be the next coders for all these apps. And it may not seem viable now. It might be just like a fun little project, but you'd be surprised what inspires little kids to go into the fields they're in, right?
Yeah.
So it sounds like for you, at least with the video, it was just something like you were just kind of interested. As you got older, you're probably, I'm guessing, around 20s whenever you first started experimenting with like making videos and stuff.
Yep.
But like growing up, was there any like films or music videos, MTV, stuff like that stood out to you? It's like, oh wow, this would be really cool to make and produce and all that? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I remember a lot of them. I think at the time, because of course that's when, like, 8th grade is when we started our first band, and that kind of thing. So from then on, I was in a band in one way or another. So mostly it still was around the music, because that's what I loved, and like anything that I would have done was to support that. So even, I don't think I looked at video with a critical eye at that point. I certainly would have said, like, that video was awesome. Like, man, there were some weird ones back then too. Like when we were watching, it was like some Nirvana videos and Soundgarden and stuff like that. I don't know if you're probably too young for some of that stuff, but the Soundgarden video for Black Hole Sun, super weird, but that one was really memorable for some reason. But I did love it how you can take the concept of a song and then put it into video. Was super cool.
Growing up, whenever I'd listen to music, I would see, like, I never saw the music videos for them. I didn't have like internet till like middle school or something like that, and like kids have phones right now at the age of 3. But when I was growing up, I would hear music and I would like close my eyes and I would just like have these very vivid visuals in my head of what goes with that music, and it would be like characters acting things out. And for me, that's always been something, like, since young age of maybe probably like 7 or 8 that first started happening. And I was like, oh yeah, I would love to do music videos. Now, I've never really been musically inclined, played piano a little bit here and there, but like overall it was never something that I dove too much into. But after starting the business and being able to get some real nice film equipment, we can go out and produce these ideas that I've had in my head and produce that for other people and like bring this high level quality to their work. And for me, that's always been a really fun part of of my experience. Right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. As far as learning, I guess, what has been the thing that's helped you the most? Because you've experimented with a lot of different creative mediums. So I would say you probably have a lot of experience with learning. What's been the most helpful throughout that process?
Well, I mean, it's funny to say, but YouTube has been huge in all of that. It's just like, I mean, it's so hard to even fathom how people used to learn some of these things, because now you have hundreds of teachers a click away that you learn whatever you want from them, basically. But yeah, I think, I mean, I always had and have had and still have somebody kind of in it with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's helped me in a huge way, just to not feel like I'm kind of doing it on my own.
Yeah.
So one way or another, it's usually a friend or someone who has kind of that same interest that's in it with me.
Mm-hmm.
It was always the way with the bands that I was in and everything. Those were kind of my closest friends at the time, that we'd spend all our time together working on that stuff. And now I've got a friend, Kyle, who's been working with me on stuff for about a year and a half and filming with me and editing, and he hadn't really done much of it before. So he's learning along the way too. And so it's kind of, I'm learning stuff and then I'm trying to funnel it down to him too. And I just love that collaborative thing. And of course, you know, in working with someone else, there are always times when you have one idea and they have another idea, but it's a good process to go through to figure out, you know, what's the best creative decision. So it's always good to have someone there to kind of bounce things off of, and helps you grow so much more when it's just not, well, I'll do this and nobody questions it. Yeah.
So is he working for you, or is that more of like a partnership? And like, does he fall under Ryan Furr Media or Ryan Furr Creative?
I mean, I guess he would probably say he does. Right now, I just I hire him when I can and when he has time to do it, because he's got another full-time job, and he also has 3 young kids. So that makes for a busy schedule. But yeah, he's been doing a lot, and we've kind of got plans, I think, to try to bring him on eventually under that umbrella, so that we can do that full time together, which would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, someone's going to come after you and have a non-competitive hire agreement with you,
right?
You're scouting out all their talent.
Yep.
Misunderstandings, man, misconceptions. What do people ask you the most? Like, you know, something you have to explain over and over, or just something you want to address here?
Oh man, that's a good one. I think I guess it's probably like any creative field, when you start talking about how much is this project going to cost.
Okay.
That it's I think, well, in photography or anything, people assume like, well, I only need to pay you for like, you're going to come for a day and take pictures. Then I only, like, you're only going to work on it for a day, but you're like, no, I've got 30 hours after that that I'm going to be editing and doing all this stuff. So I think just, especially in a smaller market like we're in, like, there are a lot of people who just don't know kind of the process of what goes into filming and editing and all of that kind of stuff. So just being able to communicate that, to get someone to understand, like, you know, I'm not just coming in for an hour to take a video with my phone and then go home and email it to you. Like that.
Well, I mean, it's partly they don't understand the creative process of this, and then they also don't understand. Well, I wouldn't say they don't understand, but they have misconceptions about operating a business.
Sure, yeah.
It's like, okay, well, I need to make at least this much an hour. I bought this camera, and if I'm using it X amount of hours from the time I buy it till the time I operate it, that's basically me pricing it out as rent per hour.
Right.
So it's like, on average, my camera costs me $15 an hour. Now that's just me shooting off numbers, but then you also have health insurance. It's like, well, I don't have health. I'm my own business, man.
Right.
Like, I have to be able to provide for my family and kids. And if your wife doesn't work for a company, or your spouse doesn't work for a company that offers health plans, like, all right, well, now I have to take that out. And so on top of that, you're getting taxed at anywhere from 20 to 40%.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's just so much that goes into it. And it's like, by the end of the day, you're making $4 an hour.
Right.
And it's like, well, I need to make a little bit more, because then work's inconsistent.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you're starting out. So you got maybe 40 hours a week, but that's, you know, 3 weeks out of the 4 for the month or whatever. You know, maybe get like 45 weeks out of the year, something like that. But that's still, you know, compared to other people, they may not realize, but that's the equivalent of you taking like 5 weeks off the year.
Right. Yeah.
And there's no paid vacations for independent.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah. You have to account that I can't film all day every day because I have to edit, and I can't film and edit all day every day because I have to work on taxes and financials and
Oh gosh,
and I don't get paid for that time.
we can talk forever about that. Yeah, whenever you start a business and you're like, oh, I love doing this thing, I can't wait to do it for all the time. And then you're like, I'm an admin now. No, that's not shade for an admin, but I went into this business thinking I was going to make a bunch of videos and design things, and now probably 25% of my time is managing employees or doing accounting work, scheduling meetings, like all of the work that I guess what I'm trying to say is I should hire an admin.
I guess that's what it sounds like.
But I mean, for anybody trying to run a business, unless you're like a consultant, or like something like where you're already doing a lot of that administrative work for other companies, it's not what you're going into your profession for, right? So
right.
I definitely agree with you. It's it can be a hard part of trying to explain that to customers, but then if you're struggling with it, maybe you need to hire someone like a consultant for sales or hire a full-time sales.
Yeah.
There's a company called Real Goats. Now it's REEL, and they started out really small company doing film work, and it was one guy, and then he started getting picked up, so he hired a friend, and then his brother was having a rough time, so he hired his brother, and they started working with the baby. Originally went by Baby Jesus, very controversial name. He was a rapper based out of Charlotte, super good guy. Like he's I wouldn't say super good, but he's a very talented artist. He shows a lot of signs of like he values the family, and he puts that above his friends. And I think there's a lot of value like of trying to be a family man, especially in a culture of rap. It's not something like, oh, be dedicated to your spouse and stuff. So
right.
But all in all, Real Goats start working with him, and the baby's music blows up, and then he brings them with him because they've continually produced really good content, and they continually produced a lot of meaningful work for him. And throughout this period of time, like you can watch all this online. They only have like 20 videos on their channel that aren't music videos, and it's like all their behind the scenes and explain their story of what it's like to produce really good quality content. But then he brought his brother in, and his brother's like super lazy, and that was the reason he needed the job. And he comes in, and he's a terrible editor, he's a terrible video guy, but he's like, you have a background in sales. He used to sell cars, he was pretty good at it. And he comes in, and then he's like able to like bring validation to their prices. So even though he wasn't contributing work towards the product, he was able to almost double their income because he was really good at sales, and it was like validating per hour, and explain what it would be with the camera, why the camera's so expensive. We have insurance, we have one set insurance, we have employee insurance, we have like these health benefits that we have to pay rent, taxes, all these different things. And he was able to explain that, and then also on top of that explain the value it brings to their brand and their market. So it's like, oh, you need if you don't have a music video, you lose like 40% engagement and like 60% overall impressions. And whenever you're able to do that to a company, it's not like they're being rude and they're trying to dismiss you, but you have to speak the language that they want, and to them it's dollars.
Right. It is.
Now, some people are different. Some people want engagement, some people want views, some people want conversations, relationships. Whatever your client wants, you have to kind of adapt to that need.
But everyone wants a return if they're going to invest
in
what you do, right?
Exactly. Right on. So I did have one question that kind of stood out as we were talking today. You love music, right? And you love this creative outlet starting to go deeper into the video. If you could pay, if you got paid the same amount and it was more than enough to provide for your family and yourself in your retirement, which one would you focus on?
Ooh, man. I mean, I think now it would have to be video.
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, it's hard, but because I know that, like it could have been music at some point, but I think I passed the point in my life where living on tour is not appealing anymore.
Okay, that makes sense.
Especially just being away from family and that kind of thing. Like, there are parts of it I would love but I know, well, it's kind of like you said, how people view owning your own business and all you do is make videos all day. But like, when you're out touring and you're playing shows, like you get that hour
Yeah.
of like good stuff, and then you're sleeping on floors and riding in a van,
Oh, yeah.
and you know,
And even when you're signed by a label, if you look, like, I'm sure you're familiar because you're
yeah,
within the music industry to a degree, like you're familiar with it.
hmm
But a lot of people aren't aware of like how much money a performer actually makes. It's like ticket sales, no, that
yeah,
goes to the stadium. It's
yeah,
like, all right, well, what about the Spotify plays? It's like streaming a little bit, but most of that's going to Spotify,
yeah.
or
Taylor
to the
Swift showed everybody that.
yeah, exactly. And the record label's going to take everything except for basically merchandise. And even now they're starting to try to take a part of
Yeah.
that. So it's like, all right, buy my merch, and that's about it. That's really all I need from you.
Yeah,
And because all the money that they're making is pretty much going to the record label or to the venues that they're performing at. And they're not making as much money as, I mean, you have the outliers like Bieber, who's probably got $1 billion in the bank, but
right. Yeah,
most
when
people,
you're a top artist in the mainstream. But
yeah,
I mean, I remember 2 situations at least where I talked to one artist that I knew had been playing around forever. In my mind, were like huge,
successful,
and
they made
just
it.
talked about what a struggle it was and everything, and that they were making about $18,000 a year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man,
Yeah.
that's crazy. And not only that, but then another group that was kind of the same way. They're on their second album, signed with a big, well-known label.
Yeah.
And they were trying to sell their shirts for like $5 because they were still in this massive amount of debt to their record label.
Yeah.
That it's just...
It happens. Like, people are like, oh, you got signed by Sony, you made it. It's like,
right.
no. That's actually what happened with Kesha. I mean, not that I supported her in general. I mean, she made some good music for the most part. Like, it was pop, it was popular, and a lot of people liked it.
Mm-hmm.
But the record label's like, yeah, you're not producing anymore. And there was like some sexual accusations and stuff like that. And basically, they put her behind the curtain and wouldn't let her perform anymore. None of the music she was getting the rights to. So then, like, long story short, she's just like 4 years out of a job, but she signed and can't get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, how do you make money? It's like, you don't.
You don't. Yeah.
I mean, it's sad, and I think she's finally out of that situation with Sony where she's able to produce her own music again. I see her featuring on a couple songs every once in a while. But when you're hot, you can charge $40,000 a feature,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm guessing now she makes significantly less.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Rockstock or any of your other business ventures right now, or do you want to keep going on with the music stuff?
Oh, I don't care. So I mean,
you want to do a little plug?
Yeah, I mean, I've got another company called Rockstock Pedal Company, and we make like guitar effects, pedals, and that kind of stuff. But we've been doing that for about 5 years now, and it's kind of at this point, actually, we're looking at kind of moving away from that and letting somebody else kind of take on the company and everything. And but man, it's been awesome. We've had so many cool opportunities to hook up with artists that we've loved and actually get to kind of go hang out and meet them and that kind of stuff. So that's been crazy. I mean, this past December, and like Steve is my friend that we did that together. See, I always have a friend in it with me.
Yep.
That he sent me a picture of a Christmas card that we got from Iron Maiden. And I'm like, who gets a Christmas card from Iron Maiden? Like, that's it's so ridiculous.
Did it have them all in like Santa outfits, but they're still like in their full dress?
I wish they would have done something like that, but all I saw was their logo and everything. But
yeah, like a little Santa hat off the logo.
Yeah,
been cool.
But again, that's been another thing. Like, I'm not playing music, but it kind of kept me in the music industry in a way.
Yeah.
So we could go hang out, and a lot of different artists in the Christian industry and mainstream and all kinds of different places. So yeah, it's been a cool ride. But it's kind of, for me anyway, kind of coming to an end, I think. But I'm happy to, I think we've got somebody now that we're going to pass it on to that's really going to take it and run with it. So it's cool to see it kind of keep going.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's good when things come to an end.
Yeah.
On a good note.
Yeah, for sure. I know. Like, I know there are plenty of people who have lost their livelihoods on things like that, and we were incredibly lucky to do what we did with that.
Well, I think we can probably come to an end on the podcast as well on a good note. Would you like to plug anything right now? You want to tell people what you're up to, where they can find you, where they can keep up with whatever it is that you're doing on a daily?
Sure, yeah. You can find me and Ryan Furr Creative on Facebook and at my website at ryanfurr.com, on Instagram, all the good places, and my YouTube channel just under Ryan Furr if you want to see me doing some silly other things in front of the camera instead of working behind the camera.
Yeah, so if you guys are interested in anything outside of what we talked about on the podcast, if you want to follow up with Ryan, we'll have links to those in the description. If you're on Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, anything like that, highly recommend you guys check it out on YouTube. It is nice getting a face with the voice, especially for these long discussions. It really, I think, brings some personal value to it. And if you guys are interested in either having recommendations or coming on the podcast yourself, you can check us out at TRIFLIX.com, TRIFLIX.com. We'll have links in the description for that as well. If you would like to sponsor, or you know anybody that would like to sponsor, such as Hill Zion Records, we would greatly appreciate that. You can do the same on TRIFLIX.com. Just reach out to us on the contact page. But other than that, I look forward to talking to you guys on the next episode, having someone else on. But as far as today, it was really nice getting to talk to you, man.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.